Welcome back to the channel. I'm so excited to share with you episode 3 of the series with Dr. Alicia Shelly. This will be the last episode of this series with Dr. Shelly, and she will continue to share her life lessons from the perspective of a physician fitness enthusiast. Thanks so much for joining. We're glad you're here.
You're not winning an award here, ma'am. You paid for this.
A lot of the things I've done in my life that I'm like, wow, if I actually sat to think about doing that, I would have talked myself out of it because it's like, I can't do that. I don't know what to do that. Even at the start of every single race in college, I'm like, I don't think I could be here. I don't think I want to do this. They're like, oh, does that serve you well? And I just think, like, when we think of endurance, the best thing you can do is relax the body so that you preserve your energy and you don't get cramped up. And how counterintuitive is that, right? Like, I'll actually succeed more and I'll be faster if I relax my body.
And a lot of times we don't think. We think we need that nervous energy to keep going. But you're right. When we're able to be relaxed, when we're in a good frame of mind, it makes it a lot easier. Makes it a lot easier. So even today, I was doing the Chattanooga Waterfront Olympic Triathlon, and I noticed I was telling somebody, "Oh, I'm getting a little nervous," and I'm like, "Why? You did this like 1 month ago, and actually longer. So the distance is fine." And so I found that when I was able to kind of just relax my mind, remind myself, hey, you can do this, it went a lot smoother. It went a lot smoother. So you're absolutely right.
Tony Robbins, I think, it talks about excitement and anxiety being like the same experience of the body. So, like, if you're feeling anxious and just replace it with "I'm so excited," and I think it was him in his "I'm Not Your Guru" or something movie. But every
Mhm.
time I have two thoughts that come up when you're thinking that. Every time at the start you're feeling nervous, usually my coach would say it's because you care. Of course you're going to be nervous. If you weren't nervous, I'd be worried. And I'm like, okay, so how can we channel the nerves in order to make it a successful thing, right? Because nerves can be really restricting and causes severe distress. So how do we channel them into appropriate energy? So then with Tony Robbins, he's like, I'm so excited. So before every test, like boards and things like that, you get so nervous. I'm like, I'm so excited to conquer this test. But anyway, that came to mind. And then also that perfectionistic thinking that has made us successful before, but then no longer serves us at some point for it to carry through in all capacities. I always just think about that training. It sounds like a lot of that black and white thinking that's associated with perfectionism.
Mhm. That's true. And a lot of times I would never call myself a perfectionism, but when I've, done different trainings, I realized you are just a tad
Mm-hmm.
bit trying to be a type A personality. You need to relax, lady. So I always have to remind myself, just bring it down a notch, bring it down a notch. So you're right. But that perfectionist thinking is kind of what kind of stops us from being fully what's the word I'm trying to say, just completely being fully free and being willing to enjoy the experience, where now you're doing this race and it just doesn't feel good, like, because you just have this perfectionist, like, this has to be here, and if I don't make this, then this is what this means. And it's like a snowball effect where eventually you just give up because you're so discouraged. So definitely.
Yeah, I was at the start line of a race and I was with one lady who came from a D1 college, and she said she's the only person on her team still running because everyone got burnt out from running, just like we can get burnt out for anything. They trained too much, they lost the enjoyment for the sport. And
Mhm.
and I even was just thinking like that. I think endurance running, it teaches you a lot if we lean into the things like I said, oh yeah, well, running was great, and people say, they give you the compliments for running a lot, but if we don't step back to say, well, when is running, like, what value is it serving somebody, and how can we make sure that what they're doing is channeling it so that it is a really great thing in this person's life. And that's why I love when I hear you talking about it, because I'm like, yeah, I really enjoy your enthusiasm for this craziness that's shared. So I might be biased because I'm like, yes, we speak the same language. So can you tell us more about this Ironman and why has that become a vision of yours?
Yeah. Well, definitely the one thing I'll say, before we talk about the Ironman, you mentioned about the burnout. 1 year I ran 3 marathons in a year, And at the end of that third marathon, I was so burnt out. I didn't want to do anything with running.
Yeah.
And I realized then I gained weight and I was like, oh, well, I need to do something I need to go back. But I think in order to avoid that burnout, especially with exercise, it's important that you find things that you enjoy and then make it fun. Like whether it's you're running with friends, whether it's just shorter distances versus longer distances. For me with the Ironman, I would say I don't know if my friend was like, you're going to keep doing Ironmans. I'm like, yeah, maybe not.
Your friend that does Ironmans?
Yeah, no, this is a friend that does not merit run at all.
Okay, so this is okay. We have to evaluate where we're getting our sources of insight and recommendations, right? Like, oh,
This
okay.
is so true. Yeah, you have to take people's advice with a grain of salt, especially if they don't do what you do. but but I realized I'm like, this year, because that basically is the whole year that I set aside to do this particular race, to train for this particular race. And I always have to remind myself that there's a lot of time. There's a lot of time that you're putting into it. And I don't know if I'll have that time going forward, but I know I may not necessarily do the Ironman distance, but I know I will still do triathlons. It just may be more of the sprint Olympic distances because number one, they're fun. There's not necessarily a meaning to it. And it's just nice to be able to see yourself, hey, I'm swimming. Now I'm riding. Now I'm walking, running. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I can do this.
this is
Yeah.
like what an Instagram reel. They're like, and now I'm swimming, and now I'm running, and now I'm biking. Right? Like, what is happening?
What is happening here? I can't believe I did this. So so, but for me, it's just more of the enjoyment. Like when I was running today, I was talking to a lady we were running together basically, and she's like, my friend said there's somebody up ahead, but I told her I don't, and I'm not. Usually, sometimes with a race, they have like the last person who is like the back of the pack. And so this person, if they run past you, it means that you don't get a time. And so I guess when the lady was saying that there's a person up ahead, they were telling her that she needs to hurry up. But she's like, I'm going my distance. And I'm like, yes, ma'am, me too. We're going to run our race, run our pace. And I think the person they were referring to was for the sprint because there was a designated sprint finisher. And I'm sure there was a designated Olympics finisher. But needless to say, the reason why I tell that story is that you just have to run your race. You just have to run it your way. You have to be able to enjoy what you do or you're not going to do it. Like who wants to put themselves through this if they hate doing it? And so my advice to people who may not necessarily want to run, whatever it is that you want to do to be physically active, find that activity. You may actually be really good at like volleyball and I'm horrible, but
Yeah.
that's what you enjoy. That's what you love. Do that because the whole, life is too short to do something you hate. And it's better for you to enjoy life and to do an exercise that brings you joy and helps your heart.
Yeah, and I would when I got into long distance running, there was the ulterior motives. You always, runners are small. I was like, I'll be, I'll run. But actually, marathoning because it builds muscle. Like it's like sometimes people gain weight and it makes you hungry. I'm like, so if it's to your point, like there has to be more reasons, and being active and doing something that you love is such a. I noticed that in my mind, I enjoyed it so much more, even just running in general, like when it's a meditative practice versus like taking out anger on body. That's my red flag. Like, why am I running? I'm taking out my frustrations on myself. I'm like, no, we're calming it down. We're slowing down the pace. We're going to be gentle on this body here. It's such a different experience.
So different. So different. I do find if I'm hitting that wall just by I remind myself, slow your pace. You're not winning an award here, ma'am. You paid for this. So enjoy the race. I had one guy say, you take a lot of pictures when you run. I'm like, yes, I paid for this run. We're going to take picture at mile 1, mile 2. Like we are going to show that we were here.
Yeah, that's so funny. And people are funny. Like just the comments people are making. I'm like, that's so interesting. I'm newer to Twitter and like people will comment things. I'm like, that's interesting that you took the time to make that comment to me today. Block. No. depending on how much mental energy it takes for me to try not to respond in a certain way, it's like, or you can
I
share the experience, but
Yeah, no, it's true. It is funny. I think in social media, so many people have like these random comments where you just scratch your head and be like, that's interesting. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, and I barely ever like I don't mind if in terms of keeping people in our lives that make goofy comments, yes, but this person, it's just like when they're relentless and that they're trolls, and then it's like this could be a whole other conversation on appropriate boundaries, but it won't be. We won't. We'll keep it positive with your pictures, and I still would love to hear more about the Ironman and like what you're excited about and anything you'd like to share with us.
So I can say, so the funny thing is I think I'll be really excited. I'm excited about the training part of it. So the one thing I love about marathons is actually the training. The actual marathon itself, I get nervous and all these things, but the preparation to it. So when I started, the only thing I did was like the marathon running. So I hadn't ran, I hadn't rode. I mean, I rode a bike occasionally, but it wasn't like I was riding like super, this wasn't something that I had done for years. And so I picked up a bike and I've been learning a lot of things. And you would think riding a bike would be easy because you did this as a kid, but totally different, totally different. Like I realized I never knew what those gears were for. I didn't know.
Yeah.
When you ride cycling for long distances, you need to clip into the bike so
Mhm.
that you guys are a machine and that you're getting the maximum efficiency with moving. And so that was a totally different process. I had fallen like 8 times on this bike just from clipping on. Like the worst part for me is stopping and starting because
Mhm.
this is when you're gonna fall. Once I get going, it's all gravy. But so learning new things, learning how to not just exercise, but just learning how to swim more efficiently, swim for long periods of time. I remember so before I decided to do the Ironman, I had trained for a sprint triathlon one summer and I was like swimming. And after about like 4 laps, I had to stop. I was like, oh, this is too much. This is too much. And so the fact that I'm able to just like swim for long periods of time, like over an hour, is pretty amazing to me because I've come from only able to do 4 laps to now I don't even know how many laps I do in an hour, but at this point I'm just keeping the time. So but it's amazing to see the progress. And the one thing with the trainings that you have different races that you do to kind of help with honing like how you transition from one event to the next, but then also you have different how can I say it, like different climates that you're either doing the event through, or you're climbing up, or you're riding through. They call it they call it a hill, but it was actually a mountain
Mm.
in my experience. and
Mhm.
how and so you're learning how you overcome obstacles. The one story I would say with this is what I describe. This was this hill on the Silver Comet Trail. If you're from Georgia, that the Silver Comet Trail starts in Smyrna outside of Atlanta, and it goes 60 miles to the Alabama border. And so during that space of trail on this trail, there's this mountain called Trash Mountain. The reason why they call it Trash Mountain is not because the mountain is trash, although I would say it is a really difficult difficult hill.
So we do
and
have words
but
for it.
I do have other words for it that I cannot say on this channel today. But it's
We're
near trash.
18 and up. Your video just turned to 18 and up. Just
Yeah, okay, 18 episodes. All right, yeah, because it was crazy. And so you knew it was it was a problem when in the description they're like, you can get off your bike and walk it up the hill. But of course, I was like, no, I'm gonna ride up the hill. I got like a couple ways and then I fell over. I was like, I'm just gonna have to take an L. I can't make it up this hill. I can't do it. And then to make matters worse, once you get to the top, you're like, yes, up to the top. You realize there's more hills
oh
that you
no.
have to come. And when you go down, it's like you're going so fast that you're like, I'm gonna die. I literally started praying out loud. I was like, Lord, forgive me of my sin. I'm not gonna make it down this hill. So it was so I'm being well, no, I was not being dramatic. I really did I did pray. But but what that experience taught me was that you can do, you can do this. And so the next hill, which was not a hill again, it was a mountain, but it was worse. It was like we were actually riding up like 5 miles. And even though it was like, going back and forth, you're still going higher. And because I had that trash mountain experience, it made me more ready for this actual. Now, what was the name of it? It was called Suck Mountain. That was the name of it. I don't know who names these things, rightly named, because it did suck going up 5 miles, or maybe it was 4 miles uphill. But needless to say, that experience helped me with going up Suck Mountain. I did not fall on Suck Mountain. In fact, I realized, and this is a life lesson, when you're going up an obstacle, don't stop in the middle. Number
Mhm.
one, it's very hard to get back on your bike when you stop. So you have to just keep pedaling and moving forward. And like we said before, slow your pace, slow your what's going on, because you'll get there as long as you just put one foot in front of the other. So those are my life lessons from Trash Mountain and Suck Mountain
I
experience.
Yeah, how translatable is it to so many different things? I'm just picturing it. Oh yeah, well, because especially because we think we need to speed up things that are too steep and that we have to get to the top before we've actually transcended. And then we think we're at the top, but oh wait, no, we're not. And then we think at the top things are gonna get easier, and then all of whoosh, drinking from a fire hose.
Exactly. Exactly.
And we'll share with them what happened with me when I signed up for my triathlon. I didn't own a bike. My friend bought me a bike, and I did not practice. I think I only rode the bike during the triathlon because it took it after the day after a big dental exam, and the swimming. You get into the pool. This is okay. Go from a person that still can run marathons, but I cannot swim. I still so I had a swim coach that was my PE instructor at the time, and he would observe me in the pool, and he just like, you run in the pool, so either you need to quit running or your form is you're running in the pool. I'm like, I don't know how. So when you were saying you don't, the volleyball wasn't working, I'm like, yeah, I was volleyball. Swimming coordination. I just don't know where my body's located or something. I don't know.
It's a totally different sport, and you're having to learn, like, okay, what are the things, what are the positions to make me better, like just like the swimming with your hand, making sure your elbows are up, like it's just the small things that make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And it's not intuitive. It's not like, oh, I'm in the water, I can swim. You're like, no, I can doggy paddle. So but it is but it is like one of those things that you're just you're learning, and you're getting better, which I enjoy. That's what I enjoy.
Yeah. So we'll have people drop their shoulders,
Hmm.
relax when they're running or doing whatever, right? Key is to
Yeah.
relax. I even was thinking about this today. Is I noticed, I guess because it's Sunday scariest, right? I was responding to things and I was just like, I don't like the way I'm responding in a very defensive manner. What's this about? I'm like, I think because it's Sunday and you're like on guard, like wait. And like, but if we just like acknowledge and observe in a very relaxed way,
Mhm.
and then for your biking thing, just keep on going. Unless you need to get off that mountain, you just keep pedaling. And then the
Mhm.
swimming, it's more efficient if you can get the strokes down, right? It gets to a point
Mhm.
where it's therapeutic.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's second nature, and you feel better because when you're doing it right, you're not putting yourself in injury.
Yeah, and we've also learned to make sure that if someone gives you advice, you question the source and their expertise and how much of it you should take in. And so many great lessons.
A lot of great lessons. Sometimes it's not worth you arguing with them. You just be like, okay, that's your opinion.
Yeah,
Move on.
thank you for that. Thank you. Yes. Is there anything that you'd like to share that maybe I haven't asked yet?
I'll be honest with you. I know we talk about, fear and things of that nature. Although I know that I'm gonna do and attempt this Ironman, I would not, I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't nervous.
Hmm.
But the one thing that kind of helps me overcome that nerves, is not necessarily beating myself up and saying, oh, you can't do it, but is suppressing that inner critic and just saying, listen, I'm doing everything I can today so that come September 25th, when I do my Ironman, I will be prepared. And I'm going to jump in that water and swim as much as possible. And we're just going to go from there and take it one step at a time, one stroke at a time, one pedal at a time, and one run at a time. Mm.
And are you? I thought I heard Dr. Quirk say that you were capturing your journey. Is that true? Are you documenting it
Yeah.
in some way? Like, is there some way that we follow you and support you, or what's the best thing we could do for you?
Yes, yes. So I've been documenting my journey on Instagram.
Mhm.
So at Dr. Shelly MD, DrShellymD. I do like little Instagram lives every week where I talk about where I am. This week I wasn't able to do just yet, just because I was at the triathlon. But just kind of talking about my experience and what I'm learning. Also, you can always follow me on my podcast at Back on Track, Overcoming Weight Regain, where I just kind of put all my Ironman life lessons together. Because there's so much you can learn from Ironman training, and that you can apply to real life and to weight loss as well. And helping people just kind of get started again. So feel free to join me on my podcast.
Yeah, and I really value the nugget about, I appreciate the spectrum. As people know, I have an eating disorder background, eating disorder awareness. So I certainly make sure I listen to people's messages. And I just really value how you communicate and make sure people know it's a lifestyle. And even brought up The Biggest Loser was something I used to be obsessed with watching. And then
Mhm.
you listen to the
Mm.
behind the scenes, and then you hear diet cultures doing the same things to people. And so, of course, as somebody that it's very sensitive, I put in strong, I very much value your presence and the way that you approach and you speak about all the topics and your life lessons, which are extraordinary.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, because it is important that people learn that this is a lifestyle. I feel when I see in my practice, especially in my obesity medicine practice, is that a lot of times people have been inundated about different diets, and that if you have to do this and this is the only thing that's going to work, and if I don't do this, it won't work. And so it's not, I'm not going to lose weight. And a lot of times it's just that mindset, and not realizing that we're doing this forever. Like, there is no way of stopping. I mentioned that when I stopped running, I gained weight. So in my mind, I can't stop anymore. We're just going to have to take a break and then get back on, track, or like you said, reduce how much we run so that we can still enjoy it and love it. So some things just aren't worth overdoing it, especially if you're paying to do it. Like, we're not winning an award. We're not
Oh,
getting
wait.
any money for
I
this.
wonder if I can put my award. Let's see if we can get you an award. It will be free. Let's see if I can do it in time. Shall we get it on the screen? Do we get it? We got the look. All you have to do is be a part of the YouTube community, and you get your awards. We're going to leave it right on there. And I also think, like, when you get people that are coming in for weight loss, how often do they come in with a why that's coming from their inside?
Mm. So the funny thing, that's the first question I ask people when we
Mhm.
have our consult. What motivates you to lose weight? What's your why? And I would say there's probably about 25% of people that their why is, it's more of for them. Like, it's not just, oh, I want to look good in my clothes. It's like, you know what? I want to be healthy. I want to be able to, sometimes it's like, I want to just reduce pain. And a lot of times, those people who have more of an internal, like, it's an internal why versus, oh, I'm doing this because my mother-in-law keeps talking about me, or I'm doing this for more of a superficial reason. Um, those people who have more of a internal why, they are more dedicated to lose weight, because with anything that you do, I mean, I've talked about running and I've completed so many different marathons, but they've all been obstacles during that race. There's all been obstacles during that preparation. But if I didn't not have my mind on, if my why was very superficial, I would have just stopped because it doesn't mean anything to me. But if you have a why that means something to you and that is actually, core to why you're doing this, when you hit a roadblock, which you will do, or you will be able to overcome it a lot better.
Yeah, and I certainly value your expertise in when people are coming in, because often we hear people want to lose weight for no, like, do they actually need to lose weight? Like, having the obesity medicine background and saying, like, what health outcomes are you truly targeting, and is it going to be, is weight really the answer, or other things? So I will certainly be linking all of your information down below. I'm super stoked. And of course, I told you I want to have you on a million times to continue our conversations, and we'll make sure to follow you and cheer you on. Very grateful that you joined me on the channel today.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much for having me and for having this lively conversation about running. We both love.
I know, a little bit obsessive. And for anyone that feels that they're missing an award, it's right here.
Mhm.
And
There we go.
thank you for being here. We'll find the next one. If they need a certain different trophy, make sure to let us know which one you need, and we'll get that on the screen for you next time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alicia Shelly, for joining me in this delightful conversation of life lessons from the perspective of a physician fitness enthusiast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. We would love to hear your comments and reflections down below. Thanks so much for being here. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already to join this wonderful community.